everybody. This is Patti. Welcome to the Witching Hour. Yes, that hour of the day, whenever you tune in, that the veil is thin and magic happens. We have something very special for you today. We have the Comfy Cozy Witch, Jennie Blonde. Welcome, Jennie. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Patti. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I am excited. We will get to know her together because we are just meeting, but she has this new book out literally today called The Comfy Cozy Witch's Guide to Making Magic in Your Everyday Life. You guys are going to love it. If you guys like my book, the simplicity of lay it out, make it easy, this is like next generation. It's beautiful. I just love you. You go into a little bit of everything. Here's the holidays. Here's the this. Here's the moon cycles. Here's the so. For anybody who doesn't know, for all of us, tell us a little bit about your path. How did you become the Comfy Cozy Witch?
Well, my path started, oh my gosh, almost 30 years ago. I think like so many witches. And it was picking up silver raven wolves to
Mm-hmm.
ride a silver broomstick, of course, in Walden Books. I remember sitting in Walden Books in the mall. I was like 12, 13 years old, and I found this book and was reading it and thought, this is a real witch, and she lives down the street in Pennsylvania. I can be a real witch. You know, as a child, I would pretend that I was a witch, and I would make concoctions, and I would write spells because I always have been a writer. I would write spells with my friends, and we would try to contact our ancestors with the Ouija board, which I was successful at doing. And maybe that's a fun story we could talk about. But you know, I was always intrigued by all things witchy, but didn't realize that there were real live witches in the real world until I read Silver's book
Oh
and
wow!
decided, well, this is clearly the path that I need to be on. Um, and so that's when I started, very young, you know, testing out spells, creating my first magical journal, my first book of shadows. And then my practice, of course, ebbed and flowed over the years, as I think many practitioners do. And about 15 or so years ago is when I really stepped back into my practice and really refined what type of witchcraft I wanted to have. And like you, Patti, very simplistic, finding magic in the everyday mundanities of life. And about 6 years ago, when I retired as a public school teacher, I taught high school English for 15 years. When I retired, that's when I could step out of the broom closet, so to speak,
Mhm.
because as a public educator, I couldn't really talk about my practice.
Yeah.
And whenever I stepped out, that's when I made my social medias public. I took all of those off of private. And that's when I started sharing about my Comfy Cozy Witchcraft practice. That's when I started my Comfy Cozy Witch podcast. And, you know, things have just evolved from there. So, yeah, that's a bit about me stepping into the Comfy Cozy Witch name.
That is beautiful. I absolutely love it because, again, I started 30 plus years ago as well, and I found the books that made it simple and good, and that's my base. So that's what everything I wanted to create. And yours is actually one of the few that I've seen that really, really does that well.
Thank
Um,
you.
so you guys have to check this out. And you're in Pennsylvania, right? You're
I am.
in Pennsylvania, and you have your own shop as well, right? For anybody in
Yes,
the area?
I do. I have a shop. It's called the Comfy Cozy Apothecary, of course. And I actually had a shop online for a while. And it was just a little over a year ago, there was a storefront that became available right on Main Street in the little town of Nazareth, Pennsylvania. And I came to the shop, I toured it, and I thought, this is meant to be my apothecary. This is meant to be my space. And as soon as I walked up to the building, it's a stone front building, there was a quartz crystal like wedged in between, it's still out there now, a cloudy quartz. I'll have to show you. I'll take a picture, Patti, and show it to you. But there was a quartz crystal that was wedged in between the stonework. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is my sign from my guide, sign from my grandmother, that this is meant to be my space. And when I toured it, 50 other people were interested in this space because it is a prime location. I'm right off the circle on Main Street. And obviously, the space was meant to be mine. So I just celebrated my 1 year anniversary being a brick and mortar shop in this small town in Pennsylvania.
That is awesome, and congratulations. Well, we are witches. We kind of beat the odds.
Yeah,
That's what people don't know. That is one of the benefits of what practicing the craft and what we do. So
absolutely.
super congratulations. So tell it. So if somebody's going, all right, how do I do this? Because again, if you read some of the great books that we all do want to read down the line and learn ritual and this and that, but if somebody's going, okay, I want more magic in my life, it's exactly in your time. What are some of the little things that somebody could do to just go, okay, here's my day to day life. I'm just learning. I don't know. Do you have like certain rituals or ideas or thought patterns that you have suggest to people?
Absolutely. So I always wake up with magic in mind and thinking about how can I make today a more magical day. And so I always start my mornings with that intention. And immediately I do my morning ritual. So I get up, get out of bed, brush my teeth, all the morning stuff. And then I make my coffee or my tea every morning. I stir my honey into it, asking for sweetness and kindness to come to me for the day. I stir my cinnamon, of course, asking for warmth and protection to join me for the day. And then I take that into my sacred space, which is my home office, but I have my altar space in the corner, and I sit in front of my altar. I light my candle, my incense. I take some deep breaths. I do a little guided meditation typically, and then I'll do some magical journaling. I'll do a card pull for a day. It's very simple, it's very easy. And so for people starting out, think about the very first thing you do in the morning. How can you be more intentional with your magical practice? How can you be more intentional in bringing magic into what you are doing? So rather than waking up and scrolling on your phone,
Yes.
have that intention to, what, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to get up and I'm going to stir some warmth into my coffee and some protection. And I'm going to go sit outside and put my feet on the ground in the earth, do a little grounding. And I'm just going to be present and listen to the birds and watch nature. I mean, all of those little tiny things are magical. And having a ritual, not so much a routine, and that's something I talk about a lot. Routine, we do routines on autopilot, right? But rituals, that is with intention. So intentionally making those conscious choices to bring that magic into your day.
Absolutely perfect. And you're right. Otherwise we go by rote and we do, and you stir your coffee. You don't even realize that you drank your coffee or your tea and everything. And it's just intention and awareness changes everything. Um,
Hmm.
and phew, yeah. So everybody gets because we've been a little out of balance the last few years. The
Oh,
world is out of balance, country's out of balance, and no one's grounded, no one's aware. I mean, I don't want to say no one, but again, as a whole, we need a little pulling in. So
we
that
do. And just getting outside. I mean, getting outside can do so much for you in the grounding space. Like I said, listening to the birds. I go for a walk every morning. I take my two dogs for a walk and I don't even listen to music. I just listen and I observe and I see what's going on. Hmm.
yeah, I do the same thing. I walk every day and I work out every day,
Hmm.
and we do this little exercise routine outdoors up at Lake Hollywood where I live in Los Angeles,
Oh, yay.
and we don't want music, even the workout part, which you could put like exercise music to. We're like, no, because we're feeding the ravens and we're feeding the blue jays and we're watching nature happen all around us. So music, I love music. Music's for later. We
Hmm.
got to get back into nature. So
Yep, I agree. And so that's another small way that we can bring a little magic into our life. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
So, and you have some other books as well, right? So I'm just learning this. Tell me about what other things people can find out about you in the Comfy Cozy Witch. That's very
Oh
interesting.
yeah, I do. So, my book on hearth and home witchcraft came out 2 years ago with Wiser, and yep, here it is. That came out with
Beautiful.
Wiser Books. Yes, this I love this cover. It is gorgeous. That's me. I'm in my kitchen doing a lot of kitchen witchery, so this was just perfect. And this this first book um, is very personal in nature. It's about my hearth and home witchcraft practice. There's a lot of anecdotes about my life and my magical family and my magical grandmother. And it has a lot of recipes and rituals that I've used throughout my life. Whereas, my new book that came out today, this is a guide where I'm the guide of sorts, helping others discover their authentic witchcraft practice. So where this was very much this is about my practice, this one is about helping others discover their own spiritual journey like I did over, decades. And then because I have a son, so he's 10 years old. And something that I found lacking as he was growing up was a lot of pagan picture books and pagan children's books. There are a few out there, I think, that we all know. Um, but I was able to find a publisher, Moondust Press, and they focus on pagan witchy picture books for children. And so
Nice.
I wrote this book. It's called Song of the Elements, and it is written in verse, so it's in poetic form, and it's about the five elements and the correspondences of those elements. And I'll just show you some of the illustrations because they're just beautiful.
Oh,
Clearly this is fire, and this was me when I was a child, is going through and collecting the various elements as she's going, through her journey in the book. Of course, that's water, and it's tarot and crystal associations. Here we have air, fairies, gazelles, um, animal associations. Yeah, so it's so beautiful.
gorgeous.
Makes me so happy.
Again, me too. If I'm anything, I'm an elemental witch because again, we need this awareness back to our planet, back to everything that's going on. And so,
Yes,
and again, that will help with the balance getting back. So that is beautiful to bring that into to
yes.
kids because they don't have it.
They
So
don't. They don't. And even and adults. Oh, I know. Adults don't have it either. And it's funny because I gave a friend of mine a copy when my author copies came in, and they had said that the very first part, which is like a overview of witchcraft, and I start with the elements. Like I start with the four elements plus spirit, of course. And they said that that was such a powerful part for them because they didn't realize what was funny, they didn't realize that water's associated with fall. And it was just it's everybody can learn something, and they're not a witchy person.
yeah, that's me too. You don't have to be a witch. You don't have to use that title or that moniker at all. Just connect. The one thing we all have on common, whatever your belief system, is that at this point, we are all humans and we're sitting on this little planet. We might as well tap into the strength of a tree and the flow of water and the
Yeah.
clarity of air and the grounding of it's the passion behind fire. Everybody's fire is off right now. It's too much. There's so much anger and frustration there, or too little and they're lethargic and don't care. Everything's off balance.
We need to temper that a little bit. Patty, I feel like I can't believe we haven't met each other
Believe
before.
that either. I know. Well, we're resolving that right here, right now.
Yes, right here,
We're
right now.
also a comfy, witchy, elemental, good witches. We're both good witches.
Hmm.
We both use that title, good witches. I like good witch because I'm the big fan of Wizard of Oz. I actually have the big pink Glinda dress in my costume house right now, made from a 1980s wedding dress. They turn into great Glinda dresses with a little pink added.
That's cool.
But I love it because good means so many beautiful things.
It does. And I have to say, have you ever seen The Good Witch on Hallmark?
A little, I only once or twice, yes.
And I would joke that I want to be the Cassie Nightingale because that's her name, the Cassie Nightingale of Nazareth. And as I said earlier, I've become the Good Witch of Nazareth.
That's because we manifest. So
We do. We do.
we do. So, all right. I love how you started out again, the difference of ritual and routine. That is
Mhm,
great. But if
mhm,
somebody's going, because I know a couple times you actually even mentioned you're tapping into your grandmother and your ancestors and
mhm.
things. So if somebody's going, hold, hold, I'll start that over. Answer it quick or I'm hanging up on them. I have okay. Um, okay, I know a couple times you mentioned your grandmother and ancestors. So if somebody's going, wait, how do I tap into that? Is
Mhm,
that something that you talk about getting into spirit or connecting with spirit, either literal your spirits within, your realm and your guides and things?
mhm. Yes, I do talk about that in this new book. I have a whole guided meditation that I've written that I put in this book that someone can record or, kind of read it and then go through it in their head that helps them connect to their spirit team. And that can manifest, your spirit team could be an animal, it could be someone you don't even recognize, it could be family members, tapping into your spirit team. You could be meeting with an animal during a meditation, you could be meeting with a past loved one, perhaps you could be meeting with a deity from any pantheon, really. And so part of my tenets of being or having a comfy cozy magical practice, part of that is being patient and taking your time whenever you are developing your magical practice, because I don't know about for you, the first time I tried to connect with a guide, I could not do it. I
Yeah.
mean, it took me meditating a long I'm talking months and months and months until I could connect with a guide. And then it took me years after that to learn his name. And and even I went on a big retreat, a writing retreat a few months ago. When was that? In November, December. And I connected with a new guide I didn't even that came completely out of nowhere. So what I would say to people is if you're wanting to connect and find out who is on your team, you're going to need patience. And a great way is to listen to guided meditations, to hear someone read a script almost and guide you through this journey. Because I think a lot of people think they can just sit down at their altar and say, "Someone come to me," and it doesn't really happen that way.
Usually, no. No, oh my God, we are like the same person. I use the word team. It's crazy. I use the word, and everything you said is how I would almost explain it. Deities from whatever pantheon,
Yep.
your animal guides, your this guides. And I do think they will come and go. We have our like inner band guides with us birth to death, kind of like your
Yep.
guardian angel guide. And the outer bands just come when you need them, and the ancestors and the ascended masters. And it's a team. It's to create a team.
I agree with that. And I will say the first time though I connected with an ancestor was a fluke. It was kind of by accident, but I didn't know until 25 years later that that's what I had done. It was my best friend and I were playing with the Ouija board, and I'm talking 11, 12 years old, and two names it spelled out Florence and Rusty. Florence and Rusty. I'll never forget it. And I went through my whole life, I'm talking 20 some years, like Florence and Rusty. I remember when I got the internet, Google searching or Yahoo searching Florence and Rusty. Of course, nothing came up because that's when the internet first was,
Yeah.
introduced. Um, and then about, was it 8 years ago or so, I was taking my mom to the train station. She was coming into town to visit my Nana. And my mom, my Nana, and I had done a tarot reading that day because that's something that we like to do whenever we would get together. Nana has since passed during COVID. Um, but I took my mom to the train station and we were talking about my Nana and her aunts and uncles. and my Uncle Billy. And my Uncle Billy was a Braucher. He was a German magical folk healer. So I come from a line of Braucherei, which is the German magical folk healers. We would have so much to talk about, Patti.
I know. Oh my God.
So he used to powwow under the moon. He would do healing rituals, but that's a whole different story. So Uncle Billy had many siblings that my mom was telling me about. So we're sitting in the car at the train station. She's telling me about these siblings, and he said, "Oh, and then there was Aunt Flo, Aunt Florence." I had never heard of Aunt Florence before, but in my head, I'm thinking Florence and Rusty. And I said, "Wait, there's a Florence? A Florence?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, now, was there a Rusty?" And she said, "No, but Aunt Florence was married to Uncle Rush." So
Ooh, goosebumps.
I know, because that was an experience I could not forget as a child. And I realized, oh my goodness, I was 11 years old. They knew that I was tapping into my witchiness at a young age and were trying to contact me or maybe confirm some of my beliefs, because it was all good energy. It was all very positive. And I realized, oh, that was Florence and Rusty. And then when my Nana passed away and we were going through pictures and I had never seen them before, there was one picture that I looked at and I knew it. I knew that this was them. And I said to my mom, "Who is this?" And she said, "Oh, that's Florence and Rush." Oh my goodness. That was my first time connecting with ancestors, but I had no idea until 20 years later.
Wow. Again, we're the same person. I love that. I'm a Ouija board person too. It was always positive since I was like 8 or 9. And I know before we went online, we actually talked a little about dolls and haunted dolls. So you get a little bit of your paranormal world too. I have, this is anybody doing video here, my haunted doll, Belle, in the corner. She's a 115-year-old little haunted doll now with a beautiful spirit. But and I have a book on haunted dolls coming out next year for Llewellyn. But tell me about your experience with haunted dolls. I love that.
I know we do have a lot of similarities. So when I lived in Hershey, I would visit this old barn antique shop and I would look for the dolls. I would look for haunted dolls specifically. And I didn't find one that felt, a particular energy around, but I was inspired then to write a book about dolls that are haunted. And so one of my middle grade books is called A Haunting in Hollowfield. There is a haunted doll within that book that was inspired by these trips to the antique shops, because the whole premise of that book is antiques hold energy and they hold the memories associated with their use.
Yeah.
And that's a thread that goes throughout the entire book. And it's this little girl that has to solve a murder, use like touching these items that transport her to the memories that occurred, around that murder. So
That is beautiful. Oh, how fun. I love young adult books. I talk about that in my book. Like for haunted dolls, go to antique stores, go to thrift stores, feel
Mhm.
out the energy, because probably do better than the seller on Etsy who sold 702 haunted dolls so far. It's like, you know, yeah.
Hmm. Now, what are the chances of finding 702 haunted dolls? Let's be realistic.
Let's be realistic. Yeah, let's be real. They're good storytellers. And not saying, and I mean, you can call in spirits to dolls and things like that. But
Mhm.
I love that. Do you have any haunted dolls in your world now?
I have my Lissy doll that I wouldn't say that she's haunted, but she holds an energy.
It's
That's the
spirited.
doll that yeah, yep, spirited. A doll that I grew up with, and I think because I have so many memories associated with her, it brings me back to a certain time and place, kind of transports me like magic.
Yep.
Um, But other than that, no, I just like visiting haunted dolls and seeing them, but I don't have any myself.
Okay. All right. Good. 'Cause they do again, I like positive haunted dolls, and I teach against a negative spirit or entity is not as much fun as somebody thinks it's going to be. It will drain your energy, it could cause illness, but a positive haunted doll can bring you a lot of joy, and it's like
Yes.
a new family member, right, Belle? Right.
I keep watching to see if the doll's going to move. I'm hoping she'll, like, wink at me or something back
She
there.
does that. I have her extra in the dark this time because sometimes she pulls focus because everybody notices her. It's a love-hate thing. Either like, "What is
Yeah.
that doll and why is it staring at me? Make it go away," or like, "I'm so drawn to that." It's like,
Mhm.
like people, like with people.
Exactly.
Ah.
Well, this is so fun. Do you have plans to come, do any paranormal investigating in Pennsylvania?
I'm the world's worst geography person. Is Pennsylvania near Gettysburg?
Gettysburg is in Pennsylvania, yes.
Okay, then I do.
So
I'm gonna be at the Warrens Paracon in
okay.
Gettysburg coming up. The Warrens, Ed and
When is
Lorraine
that?
Warren. I don't know. I could tell you when that is. I've got a list.
Ooh, I'm writing it down.
You
I'm
should
ready.
come. Warren's Paracon. It is September 27th through 29th,
Okay.
Gettysburg, Connecticut.
Oh,
And
that's in Connecticut or
oh,
Pennsylvania?
wait, I don't know. Is Gettysburg in both?
Oh, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, that's the battlefield, the haunted battlefield.
Why would this be the wrong one? I
Why
don't
would it
know.
be
I
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, but it's the Warren. You can look it up. Warren's. It's something supernatural. It's all over the internet.
Okay.
Ed and Lorraine Warren's. See, I think I skipped all those geography classes in school when I was a kid. I wake up all the time because I do tour a lot. It's like, where am I? And then once I figure out where I am, I still have no idea where I am. I just got home like from Sault Ste. Marie. I'm like, I know it's up. I don't know where I am.
Right. Up, not north, it's up somewhere.
I'm going to be again. If I place where Pennsylvania is, I can't. I'm going to be at Massachusetts Paracon coming up. I'm going to be in
Ooh,
New Jersey. I am going back east a lot in this.
I'm close to New Jersey. I'm right on the border of Jersey. I'm like 10 minutes from Jersey where I live.
Well, we're doing this really fun called Supernatural Soiree on Battleship, New Jersey.
Oh.
When is that? That is October 26th. So that's like kind of like a Halloween thing.
Ooh.
So yeah, we got to get
We're
you out
gonna
to all these fun things.
yes, we'll be in contact after this because that shouldn't be too far from me.
That should not be too far, and I wanna check out your shop and stuff too. So,
Woo.
okay, everybody I'm sure is intrigued with you as I am now. So tell people where they can find you and websites and social media. Wait, producer Rob said September
Okay.
27th, 29th, All-Star Events Complex,
Gettysburg.
Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
That is yeah, that's only a few hours from me here, and I used to live in a town called Chambersburg, which is right next to Gettysburg. So I could go home and visit my family and then head over to your event and meet you.
That would be so awesome. Maybe you should have your own presence there, like, I don't know if they're still doing vendors or anything, having
Oh,
your
yeah.
anyway,
Set
I'm
up a
taking
table.
over your
Oh,
world. Ha,
okay.
ha,
I love it. I love this is so fun.
this
So
is so
people can
awesome.
find me. I'm on Instagram at Comfy Cozy Witch. My website is comfycozywitch.com. My podcast is the Comfy Cozy Witch podcast. So you can find me everywhere. Just type in Comfy Cozy Witch and I'll pop up.
You guys check her out. She is as beautiful as you can see her or hear her right now,
Oh,
Jennie Blonde. So thank you for bringing your beautiful, comfy, cozy magic to my witching hour. Thank you, Jennie. Any last words for anybody?
just I like to remind people that a lot of times they will look for magic and a practice externally, but you are the magic. You know, it's simple as that.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to the witching
Thank
hour.
you, Patty. This was lovely.